Okay, delighted to be joined by former Dublin senior hurler Joey Boland. Joey's here today to help launch the new virtual AIG Health and Wellness portal, which offers free membership for all Dublin club players and members to a unique physiotherapy-led fitness and health online resource that includes virtual gym membership. It's the Dub Club Health Club, and this service is hosted and delivered in partnership with Sports Physio Ireland, which is founded and run by yourself, Joey. So, Joey, thanks a million for joining us today.
Hi, Derek. How are you?
Good, thank you. I guess like most of the country over the past year, your company's been affected by COVID, no doubt. Obviously, Sports Physiotherapy Ireland. How have you found the past year? Have you had to adapt to overcome the difficulties that everybody's faced?
Yeah, so we obviously around was it Paddy's Day last year, we just fully had to close down. We've got a premises here in Fitzwilliam Square, Dublin 2, and we do a lot of physiotherapy and we do a lot of like group physio-led fitness as well. So obviously everything had to shut down. So all of our clients, we had to change to create something online so that our members could log on and they could actually do all their physio fitness classes online. And obviously we could do our online Zoom, physiotherapy and from a one-to-one point of view, just to try keep things on the road, or keep the show on the road, because we didn't know how long it was going to last. So we kind of shut everything down, and we kind of had an idea in our head that, look, this is definitely not going to be a 2 or 3 month thing. We weren't going to wait and hopefully things would be back to normal within, by last May or June. So what we actually decided to do is, create a comprehensive online kind of physio-led fitness platform so that all of our current members could actually have access to all of our fitness classes, all our physiotherapy, everything. So we've put a lot of time and energy into it. And as you can see with AIG now, pushing it out to all the club members for Dublin clubs, you can just see the benefit that it's going to bring to people now over the next year or two.
Yeah, big time. I guess, folks, maybe over the next few weeks and months, we're all obviously very hopeful that things will be getting back to action. Maybe not back to normal, but back to some sort of action over the next few weeks in terms of training, next few weeks and months, all going well. There are club and county players across the county and the country who've been working away on their own over the past 6 months, really, maybe since last September, October. Would you be wary of a sudden return to training for these people who, players who've been out and they've been training and they've been doing things on their own for the last 6 months or so, but obviously return to training would be kind of different sort of physical activity? Would you be wary that might bring its own problems and that it might maybe pick up injuries if they're not managed properly?
Yeah, we seen that last year actually, when the lockdown was lifted and let's say the club and county players went from doing their like 5-kilometer runs on the beach, or just doing their home exercise in their own gym, or doing their exercise at home. And it's a huge jump between your own stuff, running on the pitch or kicking the ball over the bar, or poking the ball over the bar, and go back into a team scenario where you're actually marking somebody and you're chasing somebody and you're tackling and twisting and turning. So what we seen last year was a huge increase in hamstring injuries, groin injuries, and ankle injuries, just because the players, both club and county, were just unable to expose themselves to the demands required in a game-based situation. So I think the intercounty setup's going to be training April 5th and games May 5th. So that's 4 weeks, and that'll be difficult for players, to get back up to the level of a match, without breaking down, without hurting their hamstrings or groins or ankles. So I suppose our advice for them is to really kind of do a lot of prehabilitation on them specific areas now, so that when the load goes up, they're less likely to break down,
Yeah, big time. A quick look, I guess, at the hurlers. Obviously, a former senior hurler yourself, very successful senior hurler yourself with Dublin. Disappointing year last year, 2020. Obviously, a very difficult year for every county player throughout the whole country. But disappointing year from a Dublin point of view last year to get knocked out to Cork in the championship. But still a lot of positives to take from the year. What do you see, I guess, heading into 2021? What sort of positives can you take from last year? And heading into 2021, what sort of team can you expect?
Yeah, well, the huge positive obviously is the second half against Kilkenny, and Kilkenny were thereabouts last year. So, like, the ability to do it is there. When the mentality and the physical side of things is spot on. And obviously, like, for the lads last year, it's very difficult to judge any team last year, because you're talking about a game, not much of a preseason, not much time to spend on your systems or your methods of play, and then sure you could be playing on a Saturday and then the following Saturday and the following Saturday. And what I found last year with the Dubs is the Cork game wasn't a fair reflection of where they're at, because just fatigue set in. If you don't have a preseason, you don't have a bit of a league running into things. Your legs, when you play 1 week on week one, and then you're playing the next week. I just thought that there was a bit of fatigue that set in again in that Cork game. So positives for me would be the second half against Kilkenny, and hopefully, just depending on what the GA do now, if we can get a good league together, and the players can get together, and Mattie can put a stamp on things, I'd be expecting a good championship out of them.
And from a club point of view as well, I mean, I guess there was a lot of excitement last year, especially from a Defina point of view. You're a Defina man yourself, and it was a really exciting championship from Defina's point of view as well. Obviously, like a kind of a young team coming through, and they looked like they were going to make the breakthrough. Obviously, didn't get the whole way to the final. Cuala winning the county championship once again against Ballyboden St Enda's in the final. Both of those teams, Cuala and Boden, have new management teams this year. Do you see maybe a sense of opportunity for other clubs to try and break that stranglehold that Cuala and Boden have had on the intercounty, on the club scene rather, over the past few years? And if so, who do you see maybe being able to make that breakthrough into the top one or two teams in the county?
Yeah, so I would say, like, Cuala obviously are the ones to beat, right? Then you're talking Boden next, and then it's a toss up between the likes of Defina, Crokes, Bridget's, Lucan, but some very positive signs from Defina last year, and obviously we did beat Cuala earlier on in the year, albeit the round robin, but the management that's in place at the moment, the players that are there, they've been exposed to some senior hurling over the last couple of years, because we all know that when you're winning titles underage, there is a bit of a lag, in order to start winning senior titles, because just when you leave 21, you have to kind of cut your teeth a little bit and to learn the dark arts of senior hurling, especially with Dublin club, So, obviously Cuala are going to be up there and Boden are going to be next, but I'd be quite hopeful of Nafina pushing on now, getting to a county final or winning a county final next year.
And I guess one of the big talking points over the past year, one of the benefits maybe over the past year, there's been very few, but one of them was the split season that obviously happened last year. It was kind of forced upon the GAA last year, and it worked out very, very well. And obviously this year, the Central Council and Congress has voted to maintain that going forward. You're a man who would have played county, obviously, and played club, so you would have been involved in that lack of a split season over the past few years, and maybe the difficulties associated with that. And you're also obviously a physiotherapist, so you know full well the strains that can bring onto club players as well, and intercounty players who are maybe playing the very long season. I'm guessing you're a fan of the new split season, the defined season, and how that will help both club and county players to have that sort of defined season going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. I suppose just thinking back about my own time and just working with players, and like what I found is, especially when the season's so long, if you're starting in January and then you're going into your county league, then you're going into your club championship, and then you're going back into the county championship, and then you're finishing off with the club championship. But I found, from a player welfare point of view and a motivation point of view, and just a life hurling work-life balance point of view, it was just very difficult. And what I found was a lot of players would be able to keep look after themselves in terms of stretching and hydration and mobility for 6 to 9 months. But then when it starts creeping into the 12 months over the course of like a 4 or 5 or 6 year career, I found that players were they might get towards the end of the season and they wouldn't be looking after themselves as well. You kind of burn out with the motivation to be doing the boring stuff, and then therefore they were just playing on pain and just forcing getting sure. Look, I'll get to the end of the season. So there's so many factors that I think that this is going to be of benefit for players. So like a player can focus and say, right, definitely I'm playing club now in the second half of the season. I'm going to build up. I'm going to take my holidays. I'm going to rest. So, mentally take a break from the game and then really make a big push. And that you've got a start and a finish to your season, if you look at what the AIL rugby have done here, we've worked with a couple of teams here in the past in the clinic. And it's so good. Like the lads know that, look, every year I'm starting in September and I'm definitely going to be finished by April every year. Whereas it was very difficult for GA players, especially club players, to keep that motivation, and to be, especially for club managers as well, when the county players aren't there, trying to keep enthusiasm and trying to keep the show on the road for the guts of 9, 10, 11, 12 months, So no, there's huge amount of benefits, I think, and hopefully it's going to stay for the long run now.
And I guess we saw last year with the football in particular, with Ballymun Kickham's and their success last year. And obviously everyone's known the success of the quality that they've had in their panels for the past number of years. And they haven't been able to do it in the club championship for the last 2 years. And last year they did it, and they did it in plenty of style as well. So that kind of shows, I guess, the benefits to clubs as well, as much as anything else, that to be able to have their players for longer periods.
Yeah, and it's very hard. Like the likes of Ballymun, it's very hard on them for the past couple of years because, like you think about it, the Ballymun as a club, they developed all the players. The likes of Paddy Christie and the lads up there developed all them players from 10, 11, 12, 13, and they put in the hard work. And then when a player gets to like the likes of Paddy Small, he gets to 21, 22, they actually don't get the benefit out of Paddy Small at all, really, because he's on a long Dublin season all the way to September. And then, like, again, it's just impossible for a human being to pick themselves back up and to slot back into a club scenario and to learn all the new plays and to learn the kick out strategy and to learn all this, because surely it could be 7 days from the week after the All-Ireland to you're playing a Vincent's or something that may have only had one player in the county setup. It was just totally unfair, I thought, on club teams that had put the effort in to develop the county players, So I think that this new split season will definitely give the players, and like the players want to play with their club as well. They don't want to be spending 10 months of the year playing with Dublin and then coming back in and training for a week and then you're knocked out. So no, I think that there's a lot of benefits to this, and hopefully we'll see more teams like quality teams like Ballymun and like different hurling teams that have a couple of county players. You see there, it'll up the standard of the club championship, because teams won't be scrambling to put maybe they might have one training session with the full panel all year, and that's the week before championship when you're kicking, you're just kicking balls or pucking balls over the bar, So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it, hopefully.